Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive.
Great to be diving in again.
So, you know the drill here. We take that stack of sources, articles, notes, whatever you've pulled together,
All that raw material.
and we try to, well, get right to the heart of it. Pull out the key insights.
Yeah, the really potent stuff, the surprising facts.
Exactly. The kind of knowledge that gets you informed, quickly but also deeply.
We're sort of your guides through it all, connecting the dots.
And for this deep dive, we're tackling a story with just a really jarring contrast. We're looking at this historical figure, Gesche Margaretha Gottfried, or maybe more famously, Gish.
Right. Known by two very different identities in a way. We've got this collection of articles, notes, looking at her life, her crimes.
And our mission really is to unpack the story these sources tell.
Yeah, figure out the key events, her actions, and I guess how she managed this chilling double life for so long.
That's that exactly. Trying to square that public image with the dark reality the sources lay out. Let's get into it.
Okay, so beginning as the sources have it, Gesche Margaretha Timm, born in Bremen, 1785.
And from a poor family.
Yeah, parents were a seamstress and a tailor, and Ajad, that was just the common Low German nickname for Gesche.
The sources mention something interesting right off the bat, a twin brother.
Johann Timm Jr., yeah. And it seems the parents, well, they preferred him.
Huh. And her father apparently pushed her to marry young.
That's what the material suggests.
Yep.
Which she did at 21.
She married Johann Mittenberg, a saddler there in Bremen.
Right, and they had 3 kids together. It seems pretty standard at first.
But then things change. The sources point to an inheritance.
Yeah, after Johann got some money, he apparently started drinking, gambling.
Became pretty heavy, it sounds like.
And by 1813, he basically told Gesche they were broke, destitute.
And then, not long after that,
October 1813, Johann dies. It was described as a short illness, stomach pain.
and the sources identify him as victim number 1.
Her very first victim.
Yeah, chilling. And this is where the story, according to these sources, just takes such a dark turn. A few months later, she meets someone else.
Michael Christoph Gottfried, described as a, relatively rich wine merchant.
Okay.
And then starting May 1815, this just horrific series of deaths begins.
Who was first?
Her mother, also named Gesche Timm, and then immediately after...
Wait, immediately?
Right away. Her own 2 young daughters, Johanna and Adelheid.
Oh my goodness. 3 people that close so quickly.
And it didn't stop. Later that same year, 1815, her father, Johann Timm, died.
Right.
And her son, Heinrich Gottfried, also died in 1815.
So let me count this. In 1815 alone, that's mother, father, 2 daughters, and a son. 5 people.
5 close family members gone in about 6 months.
The sources mentioned something about a cholera epidemic around then.
Yeah, that's a really crucial piece of context. Around 1815, there was a cholera outbreak.
Which must have helped, mask what was really happening.
Absolutely. It provided cover. But the truly astonishing part the sources highlight is how people saw her during all this.
Right, because it wasn't just that she was bereaved.
No, far from it. She gained this incredible sympathy. People saw her as, devotedly nursing the sick.
Nursing her family members as they were dying, and others too.
Yes, nursing them through their suffering, her apparent grief, her tireless care. It earned her this nickname.
The Angel of Bremen.
Exactly, the Angel of Bremen.
Wow. While her family is dying all around her, potentially by her hand, that duality is just chilling.
And the deaths continued after 1815, didn't they?
They did. The sources detail more. In 1816.
Her twin brother, Johann Timm Jr., the one the parents supposedly favor.
And then 1817.
Her second husband, Michael Christoph Gottfried, he died too.
So between 1813 and 1817, that's 7 immediate family members. Husband, mother, father, son, daughters, brother, second husband.
7. It's an unbelievable number.
But it wasn't just family, was it? The circle of victims expanded.
That's right. The sources show it kept going, years later even. 1823, her fiancé died, Paul Thomas Zimmermann.
She was engaged again years after her second husband died, and he died too.
Yes. And then, March 1825, Anna Lucia Meyerholtz, a music teacher described as a friend.
Dead.
And December 1825, Johann Moses, a neighbor, friend, also an advisor mentioned in the material, he died too.
So the pattern is there in hindsight, but clearly wasn't obvious then, which leads to the big question. How? How was she doing this? And how did she keep up that angel act?
The sources are pretty clear on the method. It was rat poison.
Just common rat poison.
Yeah, a type called mouse butter. Moose butter.
Yeah.
Common back then.
Mouse butter. Sounds almost quaint. What was in it?
Arsenic, Small flicks of arsenic, the sources say, mixed into animal fat.
Okay, so arsenic, and how did she use it?
That's the insidious part. She'd mix small doses into her victim's food over time.
So it wasn't one big dose usually, it was gradual.
Often, yes, which caused symptoms like, severe stomach issues, mimicking illness.
And that's where the Angel of Bremen persona comes back in.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Because when they got sick,
She'd step in to care for them.
yes. Appearing, the sources use words like friendly, selflessly, resignedly, offering to nurse them.
While continuing to give them poison, food, or drink as part of the care.
Precisely. It let her be there, be seen as the devoted caregiver, the tragic figure surrounded by misfortune.
Wow. Her neighbors, the sources say, saw her as someone chased by a cloud of misfortune.
Yeah, they saw her constant nursing as like pious resignation, not murder.
It's horrifyingly effective, weaponizing care itself. So how did this finally end? After decades, really.
Things started to unravel in 1826, according to the sources. She sold her house.
To the Rumpfs, Johann and Wilhelmina.
That's them. But she stayed on, living there as their housekeeper.
And let me guess.
Wilhelmina Rumpf died, December 1826.
Of course. Is there any hint of suspicion building?
There's one detail in the sources. A maid apparently quit, saying something like illness and death just seemed to follow Gesche.
A small crack in the facade.
A tiny one. But then the husband, Johann Rumpf, he got sick too.
But he reacted differently.
He got suspicious, and this was the key moment. He actually analyzed his food.
He did. What did he find?
Small white granules, the sources say, little specks of white powder.
And he didn't just ignore it.
No, he took it to a local chemist, a Dr. Luce.
Dr. Luce. Wait, the sources mentioned him before.
Yeah, apparently Dr. Luce had attended some of Gesche's earlier victims.
Oh, that must have clicked for him.
You'd imagine so.
Yeah.
Dr. Luce tested the powder, confirmed it was arsenic.
And told the authorities.
Immediately.
So the game was up.
Well, almost. Ash found out they were onto her, and she fled.
Where did she go?
To Hanover, according to the sources.
But even on the run, she didn't stop killing.
Incredibly, no. The pattern continued in Hanover. May 1827, a Mrs. Schmidt and her daughter, Elise Schmidt, both died.
And still more.
July 1827. Frederick Klein, described as a friend, maybe a creditor, also died in Hanover.
It's relentless. When was she finally caught?
March 6, 1828, which, the sources note, was actually her 43rd birthday.
Arrested on her birthday. The news must have exploded in Bremen. The angel revealed as a poisoner.
Absolute shockwaves. And once they had her, she confessed.
To how many?
She admitted killing 15 people and attempting to kill many more.
15 confirmed. Just staggering. And the outcome.
Trial, conviction, public execution.
By decapitation, the sources say.
Yes, April 21st, 1831.
And that event itself was significant for Bremen.
Historically, yes, it was the very last public execution ever held in the city.
So her death marked an end of an era in Bremen, in a way. Beyond the trial and execution, what about her legacy? Did she just disappear into history?
Not entirely. The sources mention a few interesting things. They made a death mask of her face.
A death mask. Why?
It was intended for phrenology, that old discredited idea of studying skull shapes to find criminal traits.
Ah, right. Trying to see the evil in your features.
Sort of an attempt to understand, I guess, but her story also echoed in art and literature. Well, there's a 2016 art book by Sarah Bodeman called Gift. I made this for you.
Gift. Like present.
No, Gift in German means poison.
Ah, okay, that makes more sense.
And the book apparently features recipes for each victim, cooked and photographed.
That's profoundly disturbing. And effective, artistically.
Definitely leaves an impression. There's also a graphic novel from 2013, also called Gift.
Focusing on her story and the poison.
Exactly. By Pure Meter and Barbara Yellen. And she pops up in academic work, too, like Suzanne Cord's book on German murderesses in literature.
And didn't a famous filmmaker tackle her story?
Fassbinder.
Rainer Werner Fassbinder, yeah.
Her.
His 1971 play, Bremer Freiheit, Bremen Freedom, and a TV version were based on her crimes.
So she's definitely left a mark on cultural memory. The sources even say there's a street named after her in Bremen.
The Gesche Gottfried Weg.
Yeah, that's odd. Naming a street after a serial killer.
It is peculiar. Maybe speaks to that dark fascination her story holds. So we've traced the events, the method, that incredible facade, the cultural afterlife. But the biggest question, the one the sources grapple with, is just why?
And the sources are pretty upfront that we don't definitively know. It's debated.
But they offer possibilities.
Theories. There's one suggestion that comes up in the material. Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Okay, explain that connection. How do they link it?
It's based on a couple of things mentioned. One, the emotional deprivation she supposedly experienced as a child.
With the parents favoring the brother?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And two, crucially, her modus operandi. The whole nursing while poisoning thing.
Right, the act of making someone sick or keeping them sick to then get attention or sympathy for being the caregiver.
Exactly. That behavior pattern has parallels with Munchausen by proxy, but
But it's a retrospective suggestion.
very much so. As the sources point out, you can't diagnose someone centuries later. Her full motives, still really a mystery, a subject of debate. There's no single clear answer provided.
That uncertainty just makes it even more chilling somehow.
Yeah.
It really underscores how terrifyingly effective her whole approach was. Trust, care, calm, and poison.
All twisted to allow her to operate for years, harming so many people, family, friends.
And that contrast, that Angel of Bremen image versus the arsenic reality, it says so much about perception, doesn't it? About what can hide in plain sight.
Absolutely.
Well, this deep dive, pulling together these sources, has definitely painted a vivid, if disturbing, picture of Gesche Gottfried. The crimes, the method, the double life, the echoes.
It really does leave you thinking, doesn't it? I mean, how could someone keep up that caring facade, that public image, while secretly committing such awful acts for so long?
Yeah.
What does a case like this really tell us about, human nature?
Hmm.
About trust, perception, and maybe the darkness that can lie hidden just beneath the surface?
A really unsettling thought to end on. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the dark story of Gesche Gottfried.